Hey everyone, welcome back to Adventures of Me, and today I'm going to be talking about Death Stranding. So let's take it away. Death Stranding was my most recent game that I played on PlayStation 5. I played the Director's Cut version, which is currently part of the PlayStation Plus catalog that you can sort of go through and use. And I found myself very conflicted playing this game. I enjoyed parts of it and I absolutely hated other parts of it. I think my biggest gripe with it was when I just come across parts in the game and feel like the game wasn't really telling me how to progress. And I understand it's a little bit of Hideo Kojima's sort of creation style, but I felt that a bit frustrating at times. And not so much that it was like put me off the game entirely, it sort of just wore me down and made me want to just finish the game more than like enjoy the process of getting to the end. Sounds a bit confusing saying that, but essentially I got to a point playing the game where I was like, I just want it to be over as opposed to I'm looking forward to seeing the ending. I started wanting to skip cutscenes as opposed to watching them. I didn't want to read the dialogue as much because I was just getting really worn out throughout the gameplay. But aside from that aspect with that sort of weird part in the game where it's like you feel like the game's just not telling you what to do, one thing that I actually really do enjoy about Hideo Kojima's games is the quirkiness behind it. Like, it is so weird that you do get sort of trapped in this whole what is happening in the game, and that in itself to me sort of makes me just curious about the game more than sort of looking at it going, oh, it's just a weird game. In saying that, one thing that I found myself doing most in the game is just going along and building roads, repaving the roads, rather than actually doing the story missions. When you sort of unlock Autobot deliveries in the game, you could automate some of the standard orders, and I was just sending my Autobots, not the Transformers, but the delivery bots, to go and do missions for me. Particularly, I didn't want to go to certain places, and I feel like that was something that a lot of other players found as well, but I'll come back to that in a minute. The overall story and the overall plot in Death Stranding is you are like a porter, a delivery man that is sort of trying to reconnect different buildings or parts of America after an event called Death Stranding, where it's essentially like the world was destroyed by these tar monster things, which are like part traversing from the afterlife back into the life, and they're like sort of in between, and they're held here by umbilical cords, hence sort of all the imagery around babies and fetuses and whatnot in this game. But as you're going along delivering these items, these tar monster spectral things will try and drag you down into the tar and take you through to your death, which happens on a beach or something. Very weird concept. So the main point, you go from one place, taking a delivery of essential items to the next place. Do enough of those deliveries to these places, they agree to reconnect to the chiral network, which these chiral crystals are what you get from defeating these tar monsters, which allow you to fabricate things. So connect all the networks, which allows you to reconnect the capital to this place, and then you go through this storyline of there's this like terrorist guy that you're trying to defeat, and if you connect everything, you can then face off against this guy, you kill him, you do some other part in the story there, and bada bing bada boom, everything's connected and sort of on the progress to recreating the United States of America. That sounds like a confusing mouthful in its own thing, but in doing that, you go to do the delivery. So you've got your main story quests, which are orders for Sam, and then you've got standard orders. Standard orders, I literally just tried to get rid of and let my robots complete those deliveries for me. Orders for Sam are the main story missions that progress your story. So I kind of went through it just focusing on the main story stuff and sending the auto delivery to finish everything else. I found doing a lot of these other standard orders were just more so taking up time as opposed to actually progressing anything. Occasionally you got cool items from it as you sort of start up the place that you're doing the deliveries to, but for the most part it just gets you more points. more than anything else. So as soon as I could do the auto deliveries, I did that, and then I focused on sort of making traversal more easy for myself. So you get to this part where as you're adding more chiral networks, connecting all these places together, you can start unlocking the ability to repave roads. And repaving the roads, essentially you dump a whole lot of materials into it that you have to carry from one place. When you dump them all in there, this road builds for a section of the map. And I spent a significant portion of my time actually rebuilding those roads. When you rebuild the roads, it sort of keeps you away from what I'd say are the bad guys of the game, the mules, which are sort of people that have defected and are doing their own thing. They're either stealing or killing, depending on if they were the terrorist mules or the regular mules in the game. It sort of changes as you go through it. One knocks you unconscious, whereas one tries to kill you. So you sort of get to this point where you're just like, what am I intending to do? Am I going to go and do all these missions by foot? Am I going to drive by car, by motorbike, whatever it is that you're going to try and do to get through it? And I found that as I was trying to complete the game, I just wanted to build those roads so I had less obstacles in my way. Because not only do the obstacles sort of stop the mules getting you, they also stop a lot of the weather conditions impacting you, your boots wearing out, the car's energy, the battery in the car stopping because they have like an energy network that's connected to it. And yeah, that sort of makes it one of those things where I just wanted to rebuild everything so that I didn't have to deal with that. And yeah, sort of as I got through all that, I really just ended up building the network best I could so I could just drive one end to the other, and then I finished the game when I made it easier for me to get through there. And I tried to skip a lot of those extra orders because I lost interest in doing those. I just wanted to finish the game after, 20, 25 hours of playing. And this is coming off the back of Spider-Man Miles Morales and getting the platinum for that. That was such a short game and a fun game that when it came to playing this and it being a long, tedious game, I got frustrated with some of the controls. I found that they can be a little bit difficult. Sort of the balancing aspect, yeah, it's sort of unique and quirky. You go, oh yeah, I've got to balance myself left or right depending on like where I'm walking and the terrain, and that gets old really quickly. And the combat is quite difficult at times. It's sort of it's fun when you have the guns, but I found other parts really frustrating. I found sort of like initiating combat to be difficult, like hold the left trigger to sort of raise the gun and then right trigger to shoot, but sometimes I would hold the left trigger and Sam literally wouldn't do anything. And it's like, if I'm pressing the button to trigger lifting the gun, then do it. And I found that one of the things that sort of got in the way of the enjoyment, where I was just getting frustrated because I'd get dragged under the tar instead of actually shooting. And then other aspects of the game where I'd be doing something and I'd be trying to go a certain direction or try and interact with a certain item, and it just wouldn't initiate. Like, it was like a delayed response to a previous action that I'd done. And that sort of put me off as well, because I just kept having to turn around and try and press a button again or try and activate something again, and that made it hard. Would I recommend this game? If you're looking for a quirky experience, absolutely, go ahead and play this game. It's got all Hideo Kojima's sort of his classic quirky game design in it. Just like with Metal Gear Solid, where you have to swap the controller to the second port to be able to beat one of the bosses. I was like, that sort of stuff is quirky, and he creates games like that that are intriguing. Would I recommend it for someone who wants an easy game? No. Would I recommend it to someone who wants a casual game? No. Would I recommend it to someone who does not like weird story progressing aspects of the game hidden in text as opposed to just, here's your progression point? No. There are times where you have to open your email, read something, and then work out how to do it. There are times where you have to just experiment to try and get something to work properly. So if you're not into all those things, do not play this game. If you just want to challenge yourself and play something that is a little bit difficult and at times frustrating with the control setup, go for it. You'll probably actually enjoy it. Do I regret playing the game? No, I actually really enjoyed playing it for the most part, it just sort of wore out over time and got a little bit long. And I just wanted it to wrap up a little bit quicker. So I'm glad I played it. Probably wouldn't play it again though, and I'm probably not going to try and 100% the game or get a platinum at this rate, because it's just one of those things I don't feel it's going to be worth the challenge that I'm going to have to be putting myself through to get to that point. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this discussion. I hope this format's alright. Like I said in the last video, I'm starting to get around to seeing how I could get this to work. Adjusting some of the lighting. I eventually want to put something up under here, so sort of put some colour behind me. And I had the trailer for Death Stranding while playing. So, next game that I might be talking about, I'm actually going to look at the update to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z, Kakarot. I've just reinstalled it onto my PlayStation 5 because the update to make it next gen came out last week. So I'm going to play through that and do some of the DLC, and might talk about that. Otherwise, Hogwarts Legacy coming out. I really want to get the Fire Emblem game that's coming out on the Switch, and hopefully Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection coming out soon on the Switch. I want to talk about that if I get that and go through some of those games. And Legend of Zelda's coming out, Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, there's actually quite a few games that I'm looking forward to buying and playing through. And I'm just thinking, I'm going to play a game, I'm going to come here, I'm going to talk about it, I'll chuck a video on there, or two, and we'll just see where the discussion takes us. So, till next time, take care, and stay safe.